Welcome to the Nerdentials podcast, starring your hosts, Joe Tweeden, Matthew Johnson, Jeff Berry, and Paul Roman.
So we're going to a little bit of that trend here too, because this is going to be our podcast, video cast, I think, going forward. That's how we're going to do this, yeah? Go with that?
I'm cool with that.
I'm pretty cool with that. I'll move that out of the way. That's slightly out of the way, and then go back to our cool background and hope that everything is recording in the background.
Yeah, that'd be kind of bad if it stopped recording.
Stopped and we have no idea.
That'd be pretty bad.
Hopefully that's not the case. We do have video.
Right.
And I can try to extrapolate that, but that'd be really crappy quality for podcasting.
And so what they're getting is like a behind the scenes of like how we do the podcast.
They kind of
are.
At the same time. I like how you think, sir.
And on that note.
Welcome, nerds, to... All right, let's do that again. It's been so long.
Take two.
Camera hasn't been on us in a long time. I think that's the problem. And yeah, you heard it here first, guys, you podcast listeners. We are just doing an experiment this week. We're going to be in two places at once, a little bit of a YouTube version of this podcast. So wherever you guys can watch us or see us, sorry, that was redundant. Watch us or listen to us. We'll be in two places, podcast and video YouTube. So Let's open up the show, guys. Welcome to Nerdentials, your weekly dose of the nerdy essentials covering TV, film, and video games. We are only two hosts this week. We're short a couple nerds.
Yes.
It's been a while.
Rest in peace.
That's a classic. Guys, go watch our old YouTube stuff. You'll understand. But today I am Joe, and with me...
I am Matt. And the people that we don't have is...
We're missing Jeff.
And Paul.
And hey, Jeff, you can't be mad at me. I called out your name because you're absent, okay?
Yeah.
Just so you know.
So if you come back on us, we're being recorded right now, so...
Anyway, this is all out of context, really. We'll just wait for you to listen and give us your feedback later. Anyway, nerds, it feels good to be back. This is kind of the roots of what we started out with. It was just me and Matt. And we didn't have a lot prepared today, so we're going to be having a little bit of variety on today's podcast/video.
Yes, kind of slingshot and back and forth.
Yeah, a little bit. We're going to reminisce right now in this very moment about where we started, really, and then we'll jump into a couple topics. I think that sounds good.
Yeah. Should we go way back?
Shall we go to the unaired crap?
Yeah, the unaired stuff. Nerd News and Brews. That was the original stuff.
That was our original title.
That was very long ago. Actually, not really. It was in October.
Yeah. We're only 6 months old, let's be honest.
And then we came up with Nerdentials.
Nerdentials was a little bit of brainstorming for a while, and then it finally sank in. We're like... It was a singular name that explained us as a whole, really.
Yeah. Nerdy essentials, basically. Like
literally, those two words smashed together, and it wasn't taken, so we went for it. It kind of sums up our roots.
Pretty much, yes. And if you look up anything Nerdentials, hey, it's gonna be us.
We're there, because I did. Anyway, we really struck a little bit of the diamond in the rough with that term.
Yes.
And then Jeff and Paul, friends we've been with for many years. When you're adults, you kind of go your separate ways for a little bit on a more serious note. But we reconvened. We realized how badly we missed each other, I think.
Yeah, it was actually on one of the episodes we kind of just ran into them.
And then we're like, hey,
Jeff,
yeah.
Hey, you want to join us on our YouTube channel for a couple episodes? And then it just turned into a permanent thing. And then Paul was like, hey.
Well,
I'm here too.
Paul was always in the back of our minds once we started rolling with Mr. Barry, and then we're like, let's top out the crew. I think that's a good direction to go.
He is the movie critic of us four.
He is, and we needed a round table, so to speak, of flavor and opinions and voices, and that's where we ended up.
Yeah. And from now on, it's going to be us four, unless it's like tonight where...
Tonight, this is one of those special times where me and Matt were both available. We're both like, you know what? Let's crank out an episode anyway.
Yeah.
Because, we enjoy hanging out anyway, and we had some things to talk about today, and we're going to start rolling in that direction, I think.
Well, I just didn't want to make him feel like he was alone.
I don't like being alone, guys. I honestly don't.
Yeah.
That being said, guys, we don't have a lot prepared in news. We have a bit to talk about in gaming, but let's at least keep a little bit to our typical framework and go into movie matters. So, Matthew, not a lot news-wise for movies, but I thought something we could do a little different.
What's that?
I was thinking maybe there's some things you or I watched that maybe got missed or were overtly criticized by some, and maybe there's a different light to those that we could share.
Oh, you mean kind of like how, in the last podcast, me and Paul both mentioned that we finally watched Star Wars Rogue One?
Yeah, that was a shock. But I don't want to dive too much into that without Paul, since he was fresh on that. So, guys, when you guys come back, we'll talk a little bit of Rogue One reminiscence. But how about something, Matt? Did you watch something not too long ago?
Actually, it was a couple days ago, and I watched Assassin's Creed.
Oh, snap!
Yeah, a movie that came out in December. Didn't get a chance to go watch it in theater, which I was kind of bummed about, but whatever. It happens.
You get some, you don't.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed it. I don't know why it critically got what it did, because
What's your overall take on what they did with the franchise?
So, the backstory of it kind of is reminiscent of the first game, where you got an old doctor and his daughter, and have the person, well, it was Dante in the game, but in this it was Cal. And the backstory to Cal is that he has always been an assassin. His parents were assassins. He didn't know that at the time, and it shuffles back from 1986 when he sees his mom get murdered. Well, spoiler warning. I'll do the beginning of this movie, and then you can go see it if you want to, or if you have seen it already. I'd like to see what you have to say about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, write us in at Nerdentials at Gmail. Nerdentials@gmail.com, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Cal is 8 years old, and he rides his bike home. He sees his mom sitting there, and a bunch of blood just pouring down his arm, or her arm.
Mm-hmm.
And his dad in a hoodie with one of those...
wrist blades.
Wrist blades,
mm-hmm.
Yes. And he turns around, and he goes, "They have found us. You need to run. We need to hide in the shadows." So, from there, it goes to the present, and Cal is getting the death sentence for murdering somebody. It's those assassin
snap. Yeah.
bloodlines.
Were you talking Templar or still other assassins?
He doesn't know that he's
part of them.
Part of them.
Okay.
He just witnessed his dad, kill his mom and whatnot.
Right. And he's like, "What's going on?"
So he actually gets injected, dies. 2 days later, he wakes up in the bed at the Templar building.
Okay.
He doesn't know that they're Templars, and he has no idea what's going on because last time he knew, he died.
Right.
And so they put him in the Animus, for the first time, and from there it takes away. And from that point, it like looks like the game that you're playing.
Yeah, what everyone's familiar
he's
with.
isolated in a room by himself, and then he gets taken to the Animus, and then goes back to his room.
Okay, yeah.
You know how that...
Yeah, the back and forth
So-
in the first game.
The Animus is a little bit different.
Yeah, I heard that.
like-
How did you feel about that? This big robotic arm, because that's what we see in the trailer.
I actually think that if... What this was... It's like an early stage to them trying to figure out how to actually use the Animus.
You don't think it's an entirely different take on it?
No. I think it's like early stage, like there's... They recently got the technology to do this kind of thing, and this arm helps with transporting them back into time, because the arm literally like shoves them.
Right. Grabs them, suspends them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all in all, I loved it. Like
You really
That was not-
enjoyed it going in, yeah.
yeah, like there wasn't a part of it that I didn't like.
Yeah, I've only seen the numbers. I haven't read the reviews personally, and I haven't seen it yet. But you're a fan as much as I am of the video game franchise, so I'm gonna take a look at that and give it a try. I guess you liked it that much. I mean, why not check it out?
I give it a strong
For you,
8.
really?
Yeah, like I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, okay, all right. I'll give it a shot, and then we can revisit that next time, and I'll tell you how I felt about it.
Sounds good.
Let's see.
What about you? Have you seen anything recently?
Yeah, dude. Nothing new. I guess I'll just an honorable mention for me. I got off work early the other night, and the wife was feeling like a scary movie. She's a huge fan of horror. So we were sifting through the library, and we came across one that I was actually pretty fond of. I don't know if you've seen Oculus. It's this, and you've never seen it?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's it got 74% on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's more
pretty decent.
yeah, it's kind of a psychological thriller, kind of, in the sense that it's about this really ancient mirror that there's these two little kids, 10 and 12, a mom and a dad, and they move into a new house, and the mom and dad, I think the mom likes antiques and the dad doesn't. He's trying to modernize. So they compromise. They get this nice full body sized mirror that looks archaic. It looks like it's from like 1600s or older. And the whole premise is there's an evil spirit within in this mirror, and over the centuries, it's every family that's ever had this mirror in their household has resulted in deaths. Like, family members have died from having the mirror in their house.
Interesting.
And these two kids go through a horrific ordeal. I mean, you kind of learn it early on. Some spoilers if you guys are all that concerned. You can skip ahead, but basically both parents end up dead. The brother was more traumatized than the daughter, so the brother goes for psychiatric help. And then the sister told him at the time, promise me you'll, when you get better, you'll come back and help me or whatever, destroy this mirror, basically. So it's the tale of present day. They're both in their early 20s. He finally gets released from a psych ward, and she's got all this equipment and computer set up, recording all the events of what this mirror does inside the original house that they had it in. And the craziest part about the whole game, the reason it's psychological, is the evil spirit in this mirror makes you think you're doing something that you're not, and then when you finally snap out of it, you realize you're somewhere else or doing something different. One first sign of this is the dad's at the computer typing up a report or something. He had like a hangnail that he was biting on, so he put Band-Aids on his fingers a lot of the time. He had a bad habit, right? So while he's in the office, he's like having a hard time typing, so he decides he's going to take the Band-Aid off. So he takes it off. And they thought he took it off, and then seconds later he looks back and it's still on there, and he's like, okay, and he doesn't think anything of it, and he tries pulling it off, and it's not coming off. And this movie does less jump scares and more psychological, like, just moments that really freak you out. This is why this movie is really good, is in that moment where he thought he took the Band-Aid off and he didn't, he looks in his drawer for something to help cut it off. And this is where the psychological screw with your head part in the movie happens. Throughout multiple scenes like this, right? He pulls out, of all things, instead of like scissors or something else, he pulls out freaking staple removers. You know, those teeth biting chomp things?
Right.
To remove staples. So he starts biting at it with his finger. And then you know something's going to happen. And then seconds later, the Band-Aid's not there, and he's chewing away at his finger with this staple remover, causing himself to bleed more. Like, the Band-Aid wasn't there. His mind got screwed with. You're like, oh, you just grab your mouth, and you're like, oh my God, why? Throughout the movie, these kind of things keep happening to the girl or to the sister and brother. They're both recording and documenting everything, and they're like, it kills plants within a certain amount of time that are in the room. Temperature rises in the room. And just all these things that she's learned about it or that she remembers experiencing based on her research. Right. And it's just, oh, man. Another short example, because I don't want to ruin the bigger plot points, but another example of something that the mirror messes with her head is they go into the other rooms to replace these lights that are run by battery-powered sources. They avoid, ground electricity because she just, of all the things she's researched, she's like, the dark spirit in this mirror screws around with cell phones. You can't make phone calls outside of the room. It screws around with the lights and the power sources. So she's got everything, lanterns and battery-powered everything. So she goes to replace the light bulb. She's chewing on an apple because two things she noticed in previous murders was like everyone that died always suffered from dehydration. One of the cases had a woman who was soaking in a bath for 3 hours, found dead, and she died of dehydration. And she's soaking in a bath. And other reasons were like they were malnourished or didn't eat. So she has a supply of water, alarms in the room to keep them alert, and food to keep them nourished, so and timers to keep them, okay, it's time to rehydrate, okay, it's time to eat something, because they don't know when they're going to lose their place in time because of this mirror, so they keep up on it. Really fascinating. But the other scene I was going to describe is that, okay, so she's chewing on an apple, she's walking around with a box of light bulbs, she sets the apple down, and she goes to change the light bulb. So she changes the light bulb, and it burns out. She's like, okay. She knows the spirit's screwing with her, so she replaces the light bulb again. And then she grabs the box of light bulbs, and the apple, turns around to walk away, and goes to take a bite into the apple. And guess what she actually bit into? You hear a glass shattering crunch, glass fall to the ground, and then she's like opening her mouth, and here's the really screwy part. She opens her mouth, blood's coming out into her hand, and she goes in like a choking motion, reaches into her mouth to pull out a massive shard of glass from the light bulb that she just thought she bit into, right? And then the brother walks into the room, looks at her confused, like, what's wrong? And you think he'd react worse because she just bit into a light bulb and was bleeding out of the mouth. Then she looks back down and sees that she pulled a piece of apple out of her mouth, and it was an apple, but the whole time she thought she bit into the glass.
Oh, man.
Light bulb, dude. This whole movie constantly screws with you scene after scene. Something happens. They think that happens that didn't happen. And sometimes what they think was a lie to them, they actually did. And it's this whole movie is like only an hour and a half. I seriously give it a shot. I don't know if it's on Netflix. We have it in our library, dude, but you got to give it a shot. It's 74% critically. And
I think I might try that out because that just sounds like a...
and guys, I apologize. That was a
nightmare.
tangent, but I had to explain a couple of those scenes because that movie really does screw with you. And it came out in 2013, so it's 2-3 years old now. But yeah, like I said, guys, give it a watch. It's starring Karen Gillan, nice young, kind of up and coming actress. She played one of the partners. Sorry, that's not the right terminology. Call me sidekicks in Doctor Who. I think during David Tennant or Matt Smith's run. I think Matt Smith actually. And she also plays Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and the upcoming Volume 2. She's really decent. She's full-blown British. She pulls off an American accent 99% of the time in this movie pretty well. But go give Oculus a try, guys. I don't think we have anything new to discuss at the moment, so let's shift over to TV talk. So, Matthew, I don't think we're going to have a full-blown conversation about a couple shows with the other guys, and our friends over at Geekologist Radio have already thoroughly covered it. But maybe you could give your brief thoughts on... You finished Iron Fist, Netflix original series.
Oh, yeah.
Just give me your brief opinion of that, because I still have to finish that, but go ahead.
Iron Fist, I think, was really good. It's definitely a new comic book character for a lot of people out there that don't understand, like...
That haven't followed the
lure, yeah.
The length of books.
But he gets trained by the same monks that train Doctor Strange.
Right, same mystic school of learning.
Right. And he starts out as a boy. His name is Danny.
Danny Rand.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of plays off the trope of that billionaire kid.
Yeah, it's
sort of, but it's different.
It's kind of like Arrow, but not Arrow, because like
he did get stranded similarly, but Arrow did not have the fortune of meeting monks.
Yes, and get taken away to a part of heaven.
To La La Land, yes.
But the person that they have playing Danny Rand, I think was a good pick. He's very good in martial arts. He's got 3 different black belts. I think one of them is actually like a 6th degree black belt.
Really? You looked into that?
Yes.
Crazy.
And he's a good actor at the same time. I enjoyed it a lot. Last couple episodes were kind of like you kind of like lose.
Hit or miss, or they just weren't what you expected.
They're kind of hit or miss. Like it just like watching it, like the first 6 episodes, like it's full of action and everything's kung pao kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then next 4 episodes, it's kind of like, I'm starting to get into like the in-depth family stuff and all this other stuff. And then the last few episodes, it's one of the episodes, it goes back to the action, but it kind of just it fades. Like it doesn't really leave an opening for season 2.
You feel they kind of closed it?
It kind of, but it just it wasn't suspenseful to be like, I need to watch season 2 to find out what's going to happen.
Or even like, Defenders, because that's actually the next installment.
Yes. And which I actually can't wait for, because Luke Cage was really good and Daredevil was amazing.
It should be interesting to see what they... No, it's fine. It should be interesting to see what they do with that, at least.
But I give it... Out of the 4...
the series that are there.
I would probably say it's the number 3. Daredevil would be the first because that's just...
Put your rank out there. You got Daredevil season 1.
It
A
was
lot of people
amazing.
were like less impressed with season 2. So if
Yeah.
you were to take the seasons, what rank would you put it in then?
With first seasons going around, I would say that this would beat Luke Cage.
You liked it more than Luke Cage.
Yeah, but Daredevil still was...
Daredevil 1 was that diamond in the rough for their
Yeah.
first run on Netflix.
Which totally caught my attention, like, right off the bat.
And a lot of people agree with that.
But I think it did beat Luke Cage.
Okay.
I
Fair enough.
Wasn't really a fan of Jessica Jones. It just didn't really capture me.
Yeah.
Like, I watched 5-6 episodes into it, and
You didn't even finish it?
I didn't finish it because I couldn't. Like, I was...
lost you enough.
Nothing against female actresses
Well, this
or
is just
female.
the show, how it was written.
Yeah,
didn't pull you in enough.
just the written aspect of this. You could tell like it was different people leading the way.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Okay, fair enough.
But go check it out.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm going to lump this into a side category, but because I forgot about it during Movie Matters, I'll just throw this out there because it's a Netflix thing. Netflix is also on top of their endless stream of seemingly original series they've been pooping out left and right.
Yes. Yes.
Pun fully intended on that, and in actuality. Yeah. They've also been doing a lot of stand-up comedy specials that they're like full-blown funding.
Yeah, like Joe Coy was recently.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I have to check that one out. I watched a little bit of the first Dave Chappelle. Absolutely love him. But when I watched last night, caught me off guard literally in the first 5 minutes, and collar us horrible people, but me and my wife lost our in the first 5 minutes. Everyone's watched, I'm sure, or heard of at least Louis C.K.
Oh yeah.
And everyone also, for those of you out there that don't know about his flavor of comedy, he is he does a really good job at joking about incredibly uncomfortable topics and making you laugh at them while also leaving you kind of confused about how he really feels about them. And I think, honestly, that makes for a really great comedian because you can cover any topic you want and not get hated for it because you're not taking a specific stance on it. No. And you're doing it in a way that you're making the people that actually are conservative still laugh at it.
Yeah.
Speaking from a conservative perspective, a couple matters that even between me and my wife that were a little sensitive, we still found ourselves laughing our asses off at the very beginning. And the opening joke he goes, the opening topic he leads into is abortion.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just like what? Like initially, like and guys, this isn't. I'm not gonna get into semantics or opinions or political positions. I'm just gonna share with you a couple things about the special that he went into, and I will tell you from myself, a conservative perspective, I wasn't offended at anything he said, and shockingly found myself laughing at a lot of it, like 99% of it. And me and my wife just lost it because we're like, this is horrible what you're talking about. But also he took absolutely no stance on it, and he said women have their right to choose this, right. And it just blew my mind. I have something else to lead into that's also equally sensitive. But Matt, you wanted to say anything about that?
Well, yeah, with Louis C.K., I mean that's
his flavor.
That's his flavor. That he's very knowledgeable about different topics,
and how people feel about him.
He goes on both sides. And makes jokes about both sides. Like, he doesn't, like, attack one side or another.
No, he full-blown goes in there to destroy both sides of any opinion.
Yes.
And But by destroy, I mean bring out the absolute worst in all of us as human beings, and that something we can laugh at. Because then, and I won't go into too much about it, but he even made light of, and this will segue into another TV topic I will briefly mention, but we won't discuss too much about yet until the whole crew is here. He even made light of suicide, but more which threw me. He went from abortion to suicide, and there was he went into his spiel about how everyone. And I don't want to misquote it. I'll let you guys just watch it. So essentially, he made it out to be that everyone's considered suicide. I'm going to just be real broad about it. I won't say any punchlines because I'll mess them up. He said something along the lines of everyone's considering it, just not everyone's taken the plunge or made the, basically. And he referred that to even parenting and you get so upset at stupid things you just want to kill yourself. And he made it out to be a funny thing, and then he also painted that with, because after all, life is meaningless. No one's life means anything. And he doesn't have any belief systems.
Right.
He doesn't commit to any one thing or science even. He left it extremely broad. And me and my wife were both like, where is he going with this? Because, I've known people, I've known circumstances, and it's not a light subject at all. But the one joke that he did run that just lost our minds, and then he quickly segued out of it, was he's like, everyone that buys a tan car wants to kill themselves. He's like, nobody goes to a car lot, goes for a car loan and says, I want that tan car. So we were just started like, what? And then he's like, and just the other day, he was recalling a recent experience. He's like, he was driving down the freeway and he saw one of those tan cars. And he's like, he saw the guy driving and he's like, he looks like he wants to die. And something along the lines of, he's like, and he had the window with the garbage bag flipping in it, flapping in it, that broken window in the back, and it's a tan car. And I don't know why, but the way he delivered it, me and my wife just lost it in that moment.
I'll
But those are just a little couple teasers that, he, just warning you guys, he opens up with two really sensitive topics for a lot of people, but keeps it broad enough that you're not really upset one way or the other. He even jokes about Jesus at the end. And if anyone knows me in my personal life, I'm a church guy, but I found myself laughing at a few things he said. He's that good.
Right.
Louis C.K. is good enough to be offensive and still make everyone laugh.
Yes.
And I think I'll leave it at that, guys. But go check it out. His new specials on Netflix original exclusive. If you have Netflix, most people do. Go check it out on there. And the only thing and the only thing I'll segue out of, and I don't have much to talk about it yet because I only watched the pilot, and I'm sure Jeff will have words to share, so I want to save that for him too.
Right.
And I think a couple guys over at Geekologist Radio watched it. I think Chris was watching it. But there's a Netflix original series called 13 Reasons Why. And the short overall premise is a high school girl committed suicide, and she left recordings, 13 cassette tapes, explaining in a very creative way why she chose to take her life. And the show follows this one boy who kind of casually knew her. He wasn't like best friends, but he wasn't a stranger. He knew her and he had worked with her. And the show, it's only 13 episodes long. Each episode's titled Tape 1 Side A, Tape 2, or Tape 1 Side B. So there's A and B sides throughout every episode, all the way to the end of him listening on a cassette player. And she, from when I got out of the pilot, she takes him, not him, but the other premise you learn pretty early on is that if you're listening to, she says in the tapes, if you're listening to these tapes right now, you are one of the reasons you're one of the reasons I took my life. And that kind of is just like, here's the thing. I've heard a couple people that have watched the whole season, and they're like, and I agree, just based on the pilot, I'm like, it's really good. In the writing department, like the character development, the drama, the flashbacks, because as you're seeing it, she's died over a week ago, and the students at this high school are still dealing with her being gone. And throughout each episode, at least in the pilot, what I've seen so far is this kid is going through listening to these tapes and just trying to hear her story. And she's narrating the story over a recording of basically you start seeing how she was starting to get affected emotionally by certain kids in the school. She hooked up with a jock. People immediately started getting these negative feelings towards her. And it's your typical scenario when talking about these heavy topics. It's really, I don't know where the show is going to go, and that's one of the reasons you keep watching it, I think. And that's what a couple people have told me, is that they're uneasy because it's a beautiful drama, like beautifully written drama with a mystery, but it's painted with the framework of someone having taken their life. And I won't go any more into it other than that, and just some people are throwing out, oh, they're glamorizing the idea of suicide, and I can kind of see that, and that's where I'm kind of like disappointed if that's what this turns into, I guess. I don't know how the majority of people are going to take it.
Right.
And there's some people are saying if it upsets enough people, Netflix might take it down. There are headlines everywhere saying, should they do a season 2? I don't know. I'm going to continue watching the season so I can speak on it with Jeff, because Jeff also got hooked and said I'd be intrigued. And he might be looking at it through a different lens than me. And just on a slightly serious but short note, guys, I don't want to make this a sad podcast. I've personally known a couple people in my life that have taken their lives, and it's a very sensitive, upsetting matter. I'm okay. Those families have moved on. It happened years ago, but it's one of those things that, why did Netflix make a show about it? So I'm going to watch the rest of the season. I'm going to see what they did with it, and then I will give you guys my full opinion, and we'll have a short discussion with Jeff Barry, who plans on watching it still, because he got hooked on the first episode. It's one of those shows that it pulls you in because you want to know why and what her story is. Like, why is she telling this story?
Well, I'll give it a shot too. Like, I'll even chime in.
Yeah, watch the pilot and you can tell me off air how you thought about it if you want to keep going with it. But it's it's a curiosity more than anything, and I'll speak on it later.
But maybe it's one of those things where not enough people are talking about it, kind of thing, to where
maybe there's a more important message behind it.
Right. That it's more or less.
It's not glamorizing, but maybe there's a more serious reason behind it.
Yeah, and sometimes a lot of people like take those types of topics and just go completely overboard because of how it affected them, because they know people that like you and me.
Yeah.
Like I've lost some people to suicide, but more or less, like, I think it gives more of a insight to maybe why somebody would do that, or how it would come to be that somebody got that lonely or whatever, to where
there could
pulls
be
into like bullying, or
and there's definitely like little bits and pieces in the pilot that you see where it's going,
right,
but it's not fleshed out yet until you go further in. So
I'll definitely give it a look.
Guys, I wasn't intending on making this like a serious melodramatic PSA or anything. I'm kind of feeling it a little bit by talking about this. I do think it's an important topic to be aware of, especially for our youth out there. And maybe this show has a reason for existing. So I'm going to keep watching it, and I'll give you guys my thoughts on it next podcast.
Yep.
Sound good, Matthew?
I'll be along there with you.
All right. Well, guys, that's all we really had for TV talk. Let's liven it up a little bit and go into something that you and me specifically on the crew, and maybe even the other two guys might jump on board, depending on the excitement level this generates.
I'm really hoping that they jump on board.
I hope so too, but let's make the segue now. Let's jump into gaming bits. Boodaloop, boodaloop.
So, welcome to Game Bits, and one of the big games that's coming out in September that me and Joe both love is going to be Destiny 2.
Lots of hype going on now.
Yes.
Woo!
If you're a Destiny fan, like myself and him,
I'm a new fan. He's a veteran fan,
Yeah.
but currently, right now, we're both fans.
Yes. This looks like it's going to take off pretty good. And the premise is it takes off from where Destiny leaves off and totally goes into a new story mode. You don't get to keep the same characters that you built up.
Oh, but you said story mode, and
Right.
I think this is something that a lot of veterans are pining for.
Yes. Yes.
Go on.
So,
yeah, a little bit of okay. Go. Sorry.
What we should at least talk about, like the 2-minute trailer that they
Released last week.
yes it was really good. Like it.
Here, let me preface my perspective so the listeners out there know, and viewers, that
Yes, the viewers.
I am a newer fan in that, honestly, guys, quick side-by-side comparison. Matt at the table has logged a staggering 1,700 plus hours over a 2.5-year period. It's been a go-to game for him. Me, I tried jumping on a little bit a while back, and I only logged in a measly 27 hours. That's it. Just 1 day's worth of play. But from where I'm coming from, though, is it's a game I've always been intrigued by. But because it had, and I know this doesn't fit its framework, it had an MMO premise to it, and it was an online play with your buddies thing. And at that point in time in my life when the game came out, I always was like, I don't have time to commit to this game. At the time, that's all it was. And then I heard complaints about lack of story, and everyone familiar with Destiny Vanilla, and all that stuff. But that didn't deter me. It was just a literal. This made me feel like it was a community-based platform, one where friends always met up and played. And although I loved the idea, I was fresh with a second kid, and I just never felt like I could spend enough time in the game that would make buying the game worth my time, I guess. And then I've got people recently, even some guys, Destiny guys that I love listening to on a podcast. Quick shout out to Mulehorn Gaming. Those guys, I've been listening to some of your backlogs, guys. They were huge Destiny guys at the beginning, and even now they're with the expansion packs and the current fixes they have with adding story and everyone's current favorite character, Cade 6. And characters like him, honestly, made me aware of the potential for the series. And again, that's kind of why I'm looking forward to Destiny 2.
Yeah.
With all the things they're promising. Matt, I'm going to throw the mic over to you, metaphorically, and let you spiel about what you're excited about and what you've heard for Destiny 2. And maybe your, a summary of your journey of Destiny 1.
My journey with Destiny 1 was, I was an original year 1 person. For those of you who know the struggles of level 29, I'll just kind of throw that out there. You're going to giggle right about now. Nobody today will know what that means because the light levels were completely different, and then they changed them 3 different times to what it is right now. And which what is right now, I like how they have it set up.
You're happy with?
Yeah. It's probably what it should have been in the beginning, and a lot of people would agree with that. But I digress. It was a lot of fun in the very beginning. The Vault of Glass, the first raid that came out, was the hardest thing to do. To get to level 30, you had to play hard mode on that raid.
Really?
And I was stuck at 29 for who knows how long because I couldn't get a pair of gauntlets out of the hard raid.
Wait, that was a requirement? Hard mode?
Hard mode, yes. To be level 30.
Bungie, cruel. Oh.
I like that aspect. Don't change that.
Okay, is that still a thing right now?
That is still a thing.
Okay.
To get the better gear, you still need to play the hard mode in order to actually like max out your level.
Side comparison, it's kind of like Blizzard's game Diablo 3. To get better loot, you have to play the harder modes.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. I get it.
And with the recent update to Destiny, they updated
The newest update?
Yes.
Okay.
The newest update.
It's called
Age of Triumph.
Age of Triumph, alright.
They brought back the Vault of Glass, Crota, and even updated Challenge Voters and made them harder. In Vault of Glass, specifically, like I know for a fact that down in the Templar room, for those of you Destiny viewers out there and listeners, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There is actually added features into that area. They closed off the little room where you can hide from the summoners thing. I can't think right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what they're called, but it's like at the tip of my tongue. Anyways, more or less, it made it more so that you actually had to stay out in the open to face everything instead of being able to be like, oh, we're just all just going to hide in this little hidey hole.
We're in a spam hide,
right.
Yeah, whole, it's our spawn hide, yeah.
Yeah, and they even added challenge modes to it, and the challenge modes brought back the fear of the Vault of Glass. Like, the challenge modes are pretty decently hard.
Nice. That's kind of cool.
So it kind of goes back to year one with that aspect. Now going forward with Destiny 2, they're keeping with the same light levels that they have right now, which I'm glad that they're sticking with that because...
No, what do you mean by that? You've heard these... Because this is a detail I haven't heard.
Basically, like, there's a level that you go up to max out your level.
Right.
But in order to, like, max out your light level, you have to have certain gear that ups that number as well. So you've got
levels. Yeah.
So with year one, there is a level 40 with 400 light. With this, they're sticking with that aspect, and you're maxing out at a certain level, and you can max out at a certain light.
Okay, you're saying the mechanic is the same.
Yes.
Right, because, that was confusing with how you worded it initially.
Sorry, my bad.
But because what we all should know is that the only thing you're carrying from the first game is the physical appearance of your character. But levels and everything else, and the vaults, everything, boom. And if you guys watch the trailer, I love Cade Six's statement of how you guys, your stuff is gone, but more importantly, my stuff. And in regards to
everybody's stuff is gone, my stuff's gone, your stuff is gone,
but more
importantly, my stuff is gone.
Perfectly spoken, yeah. And basically, that trailer talked to two different gamer groups. Was it Valhalla? Or that dude.
The dude, yes.
Valhalla?
Yep.
Okay. I'm still new, guys. Forgive me. Valhalla was speaking on the more, like, epic nature, the the story-based, lore-based players that want the story side of it.
Yes.
He was talking to them, and then Cade was speaking to just the grinders, the loot-obsessed group of people, and the hoarders, vault hoarders.
The people that, like myself,
Fill the vault were complaining about, there's not enough vault space.
Yes.
That was the Cade 6 group. And I like how in the end of that trailer, he's all like, we're going to, save Earth and save the people.
And who's with me?
And then no one else with Cade cares. And like, there's going to be a lot of loot. And then they all get excited. So it was, it was speaking to the two different types of gamers that are going to play that game.
Yeah. And what it boils down to is the people that started out the game year one compared to the
newcomers or even
like
Taken
newcomers King kind of thing where
Rise
people got the Taken King, Rise of Iron, and that's what all they know.
And that's when they introduced, was it Taken King they introduced Cade 6 or was it Rise of Iron? Because I knew he was a newer character as far as like personality.
No, he was always a character in
He's
the
been
game.
voiced with story more recently is what I was getting at.
Yeah, they used his voice more recently in Taken King and Rise of Iron.
Right.
Because a lot of the fans spoke up and said he needs to have more dialogue because...
Well, he had a little bit of history in the grimoire and the lore, right? But he didn't
Right.
have any in-game dialogue.
Right. And...
Was Nathan Fillion voicing him even in the early?
Yep.
That's
awesome. He has always been that.
I love that. He's the Deadpool for the Destiny world.
Yes, he is.
The snarky sarcasm. I love it.
Yeah. And even in his random talks, like, not even like in the story mode, like when you're just visiting up in the tower.
When you're walking by him and he's talking.
And he just randomly spats out, God, I wish I was you. Okay, no, I don't. Like,
like the random snarky comments.
Yeah, it's just like,
I love that.
What are you talking about? What the crap? Like, there's been points where I like walk by and it's just like
catch you off guard with a statement.
Random, yeah. It's okay.
I really look forward to seeing what they do with this storyline wise because I know the previous mechanics in the game is fun and the original Destiny was fun, and I think they're gonna keep a good chunk of that because obviously Bungie's good at formulating an addictive gameplay.
Yes.
And the
Go
one
back
thing
to the Halo game.
Yes.
The Halo days. Halo just blew.
They had 10 years of
success
until they disbanded from Microsoft because of contracts. And it's nice to see that they were still able to capture that addiction gameplay wise.
Yeah, which I'm still kind of upset that they still give Sony freaking first rights to everything and give Sony
that everyone agreed. That's an Activision thing, and that's why.
Yeah, I don't
see.
Like
with Halo, we got lucky because Microsoft owned their butts.
Yeah,
and,
true.
And that's why anyone, if there was going to be exclusive, correction. That's why Master Chief still is the mascot for Xbox, and why he's not multi-platform is because Microsoft owns his ass. Activision very much is a PlayStation favorite when it comes to publishers, and Bungie penned a deal with the devil, and we kind of have to just deal with that.
And it kind of breaks my heart about that. And it just
the one thing that every podcast I've listened to, and you'll know more than me and can speak on this, is it's not about the delayed exclusives, because I can respect that with any franchise. We've delayed stuff on the Microsoft side from Sony.
Right.
But the upsetting side is that, and again, I call back to Mulehorn Gaming, and even our buddies at Geekologist Radio have pointed out, there's there's been an exclusive gun, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but there's been an exclusive gun that they get for X amount of time, and it's just like heavy OP. You noobs out there, that means overpowered. Weapons are heavily OP'd, overpowered, and by the time it gets to the Xbox players, they nerfed it. Again, noob's term, that means they downsized its power, so it's now a weak little freaking gun. Whereas before, what was it? It was a Cade weapon. It was like a Ace of Hearts or a 20 in the. It was like
Ace of Spades.
Ace of Spades. It was a gun that let you every 3 shots or every so many shots, you had a chance of like doubling your power, and then
Luck in the chamber.
Luck in the chamber. And there was another one that potentially tripled that, right? There's a tripled one where so you could one shot
somebody with the ace of
somebody
spades.
with the ace of spades, and by the time Xbox users got that gun,
they totally took it
Bungie completely reformatted it to be a weak weapon, and they took that special feature out. And here's like Team Fire Chat from IGN, they're a Destiny podcast too. That's one of the things those guys all express with deep passion. The Xbox users in that group are like, I'm not upset about exclusive content being time delayed, but when you take something in a game and then completely modify it to not be as cool as it was, then it really does sting the user base when we finally get it.
Exactly. And more importantly, like PS4 still has like 2 multiplayer maps, and 3 multiplayer maps that Xbox users don't have.
You know what's sad, dude, is that content exclusive doesn't become available for Xbox users until Destiny 2 drops.
Yeah, I know.
It's like no one's gonna be playing that anymore.
And there's 2 strikes on the PS4 that are exclusive.
Which again, I think all of that is until Destiny 2 drops, and then everyone's moving on to Destiny 2, so everyone else is gonna be sour about it.
I might just buy a PS4. Not gonna lie.
Okay, hold on, Matthew. I'll say 2 things that I would ask you to not do that. Okay, one of them being, I don't think this is probably the biggest offshoot, or the biggest reason you shouldn't right now, is
Project Scorpio?
Yes, but that's less of a reason than what I'm about to express to you. I would say don't switch.
Bro Sessions?
Yes, exactly. But let me elaborate to those that don't know what Bro Sessions is.
All right. Sorry.
Matthew, the reason you should hold off, because there's some games I'd love to have that are PlayStation only, but your boy here is on Xbox, and so is Jeff, and half of Geekologist. Actually, sorry, 3/4 of Geekologist Radio have Xboxes. Even though Brandon, we know you got a PS4, but
he plays more on Xbox. I see him more online.
Brandon, where are you going to get your Destiny game? Because we know you're going to pick it up. Let us know.
He might be one of those that actually might buy both.
Anyway, but we're not talking about them, but in the personal space here on this podcast and video.
I'd pretty much be the only person out of this group that would have the PS4 and Destiny 2. I don't think Paul will buy it because
he would ask you to content share. Paul, we know you keep asking for sharing. And that could be a possibility if one of us does that. But anyway, in summary, let's move forward. Guys, he's playing with the idea of switching because he's upset about the exclusivity, and I am upset too. But guys, he's already pre-ordered the game.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say that.
I've already pre-ordered the digital.
And I know because I opened up my Xbox today, and we do file share, and I happened to see that pre-order on my Xbox.
I don't know what you're talking about, Joe.
That is a confusing matter.
It might have been John that bought it. I don't know.
Well, then I wouldn't have seen it. You know how the sharing thing works.
I know.
One system to another. Anyway. Any other things you're excited to see about this in summary with what's coming out? Story.
The story mode is definitely, like, if it's as in-depth as they say it is, it's going to be worth the $60 to pre-order it. The early access beta, if you pre-order right now, is going to be worth it because then you get a feel for how it's going to play out. Even
though I've got you backing me up on the pre-order, yes. We're still, as fans and hopefuls for the rest of the community, we are still crossing our fingers and kind of hoping there's a open beta time frame at some point so that a bigger portion of the community can try it.
There will be.
Right.
Basically, what the early beta access will be is like we'll be able to play it 3 days before everybody
Is
else.
it really only going to be that? You just think?
Or maybe
a little
week,
early?
maybe a week or a month.
Yeah.
It all depends.
EA does the same thing.
It all depends on what Bungie is thinking.
Or Activision, because they have their hand.
Stupid Activision. Stick with Call of Duty. That's what you know. Sorry. Anyways.
And they do. But storyline, it'd be interesting to see what they do with the Vault, because they are blowing up the original Vault. So, like,
but
the mechanic of what they might do with it.
I think where they're leading towards is more or less, instead of just, like, single items taking up, like, certain amount of space, it's just going to be, like, one massive just, hey, throw everything here.
They've been talking about kiosks. You heard about that?
Oh, yeah. Well, they've got kiosks in the Destiny 1 right now.
Well, sure. And I'm just wondering if they're going to get rid of... And, I mean, the biggest reason there were so many complaints is because the people that were complaining are the ones that like to display their stuff. So I'm just wondering if they're going to switch to a pure menu system where you don't have to render all the stuff they collect and you could have unlimited space. You just queue up a segment of code and you can fish through the list of your weapons rather than physically looking at all of them. You could see a picture rather than a full render.
Yeah.
So,
that would actually be a lot better.
10
times better.
Things to ponder on, and
because
there wouldn't be that complaint because you could have an endless list.
Yeah, because right now you can only have 75 items per.
Which for someone who's never played the game, that seems like an absurd amount. But
what, from year one? There's things from year one that I still have in my vault that I will not give away.
I know, and there's many of you that I've heard of that do that.
Yeah, until recently because I started
didn't the original. You were clearing out stuff?
Yeah, I'm clearing out stuff because there is actually year 3 versions of the things that I have in my vault.
Oh.
And some of them are actually exotics. So
or like level 4?
And 400, and you can they look pretty badass.
And didn't the latest update bring back some classics?
Oh yeah, like Fatebringer. You wouldn't know about that, but
I do actually.
Radiant's Revenge. Let's see, Word of Crota.
Matthew,
yeah,
I know more than you realize because I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about Destiny lately.
See, he doesn't tell me about this, so I have no idea what he knows.
This is our first heart-to-heart talk about Destiny. Because the other half of Nerdentials doesn't talk about it.
Yeah, true. I'm a Lone Ranger.
Only currently.
Right now.
Only currently.
Yeah, well...
I'm joining you this fall.
We'll see. Well, Jeff...
And he might.
Well, I'm saying, Jeff says we need to play together, but I don't ever see him on Destiny, so I don't even...
He doesn't. I know. It's one of those things that it's come and gone, though. And I think he has to buy that one anyway. I don't think he has it.
No, I think he has it.
Does he?
Yeah, because it came with his Xbox.
Jeff, would you fact check that for us later?
Maybe not. Oh, no, he has Gears of War 4.
Yeah, I don't think he has Destiny. But Destiny 2 might be something he would jump on, especially, like he said with Andromeda before, he'd be willing to do the multiplayer more if maybe some comrades were joining, you know?
Right. Which, I could join on that. Anyways,
I could
moving
too.
away from...
But, anyway, guys, we don't have much more news in the gaming world right now. I mean, we do, but we'd probably save that for when the guys come back. You think?
Yeah. I will say this. If you haven't played Season 3 of The Walking Dead, or picked it up, or at least even played the first episode, you need to.
It's that good for you.
It is that good. Like, I'm in episode 3. I just finished it, which it just came out, like, last week.
You're powering through that, dude.
It only takes, like, 4 hours to actually, like, go through it.
I know.
Per episode. But it's nerve-wracking at the moment. Like, it reminds me of the show. There's even a guy called Paul, a.k.a. Jesus.
Oh, yeah? Interesting.
And he mentions the kingdom.
Oh.
I was just like...
That's a callback to the current season on the show right now.
Yeah.
Interesting. In your opinion, have you always played the episodes one at a time as they release, or have you ever binge played?
No, I have played them one episode at a time when they came out.
Okay, and you like that, all right? You don't mind waiting, even because it seems like there's a good wait period.
It's a good couple months between each episode, but I'm
But you
okay
still
with that.
stay on track.
Yeah, and then we're not a couple episodes, maybe a month and a half, maybe a month in between episodes, but
Substantially, you're waiting, and you can still recall the tension of the previous one.
Oh yeah,
as you jump into the next one.
oh yeah, because when you start the next episode, it recalls what you chose and shows those choices prior to that episode.
Gives you some flashbacks. Yeah. Is it done with that with all 3 seasons?
Well, the second 2 seasons. It kind of touched
season
on
one
it
didn't do that?
It kind of touched on on season 1, but more or less it was just blips. It wasn't a full blown 40, recap. 50 seconds recap of what you chose or whatnot.
Okay. Right on. Well, I will probably give that a spin soon since I have your license.
As well as you guys should too.
And the viewers and listeners out there as well, of course, should
Yes.
give Frontier The Walking Dead a chance.
And if you want to see any of that kind of gameplay, let me know, and I will put that up for you guys.
Yeah, and I think that brings us to a wrap-up point where we can kind of plug that, guys. What Matt was talking about is fully true. We do run a YouTube channel, as that's where this video will be posted. Just look up Nerdentials anywhere, Google it. You guys will find us. Podcast, social media, YouTube. If you're interested in the Walking Dead walkthrough or playthrough, let us know. Matt will cook up one of those. I'm currently running a Mass Effect Andromeda playthrough. We're on part 4 right now. Part 5 should be coming out next week. Later this week, you guys will see a continuation of Resident Evil 7, which we're going to hit up real soon. And we might be revisiting Gears of War 2, actually. Sorry, 4. Listeners who don't see this, Matt's grabbing his face in shame.
I'm walking away.
We need to close. Don't walk away yet. Gears of War 4.
I quit.
Me and Matt did a Let's Play series up through part 4. We had some technical issues, scheduling issues, and we hadn't come back to it in a while. But me and Matt still need to finish that darn game up. So keep your eyes up for that. We're returning to that eventually. Matthew, if anyone wants to hit you up, where can they find you on social medias?
Twitter, you can find me at MattManOrigin. Or you could even look me up on Facebook, Matt Johnson. You can go to the Nerdentials page, and I'll be there.
He occasionally posts on there as well as I.
And even Twitch, X_DoozerX is.
Yep, he's got a Twitch stream. And guys, you can follow me at Mr. Blue Streak. That is MrBluestreek, Mr. Blue Streak.
He forgot his name for a second.
No, well, I didn't know that. I was trying to think if there was an underscore there. Anyway.
He are smart.
I also operate the late night, all hours of the day, any time of the week, Twitter feed for Nerdentials at Nerdentials. Go look that up. And questions, comments, or if you guys want to get a shout out, just hit us up on the Twitter. Or if you've got a lengthier conversation you want to have, go hit us up at our email, nerdentials@gmail.com. Feel free to message us there. And Facebook and Twitter. And guys, our other co-hosts, Paul and Matt, sorry. You're right there.
Yes.
Paul and Jeff. You can find Paul on Twitter at Paul R. Roman, and you can find Jeff at the Jeff Berry. Links will be down below in descriptions, both on YouTube and podcasts. And guys,
Yes,
it's
sir.
official. Just want to throw this out there. We are on iTunes and Google Music Play. You guys can find us both there. We originated on SoundCloud.com, but we're now in most places that you can find podcasts. So go ahead and give a check there. And, of course, Nerdentials on YouTube.
And also check us out at queuedupmedia.com.
.com, where our branch of creative minds play with Geekologist Radio, Rectify Gaming, and our graphic artist, Con, at conartist.org. And there's a couple other podcasts in the works soon. Right now, our buddies Jeff and Paul are running a podcast called Too Long Didn't Watch. And it's a comedy about...
they take movie trailers and try to make the movie with just watching the trailer. That way you don't have to watch the movie if it looks like it's going to be a boring movie.
Yeah, basically they create plots. They each have a take on it, and then they converge on plots, and it's good, fun times. You can also find them on iTunes and SoundCloud.
Yes.
I think that wraps us up for now, guys. This has been a fun little one-on-one with your hosts, Matt and Joe. And
yes, sir. Brought back the day.
Brought back the origins of Nerdentials.
Nerd News and Brews.
As always. As always, nerds. We'll see you on the other side. Oh, feels awkward. There's no Jeff. Jeff, we miss you. And Paul.
And see you on a side from the other.
That was a poor rendition of Jeff. Jeff, come back. We'll end it there.